I had a very unique and intimate experience undergrad because of my major being very small and maybe more intimate. And so I did have a little bit more accessibility to professors. I did have a little bit more of a community feel with my major and ability to really leverage close relationships. And that's the experience I've had here at Scheller. I think the university difference that I've seen overall is maybe a little bit more alumni engagement.
Welcome to another episode of the Intersection Podcast, brought to you by the Georgia Tech Scheller College of Business. I'm your host, Analisa Wade. I'm a second-year full-time MBA student here at Scheller. Today, we're going to talk about HBCU to Scheller experience. For those listeners who aren't aware of what an HBCU is, it's an historically Black college and university. Today, I have Torri Smith and Jamaal Broome here with me. These are both Scheller grads, and we're going to talk about your experience. So how does it feel to be on the Intersection Podcast?
I am happy to be here. I have watched your podcast for a while, and I'm excited to be on the couch with you.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. So happy to have you. What about
Likewise,
Jamaal?
I'm excited to be here and ready to talk about my HBCU experience and of course my decision to come to Scheller.
Yes, this is a very exciting episode, a very unique one that's also very timely. So I'm excited to dive deeper into talking about your HBCU experience. I mean, let's just throw it out there. What school did you go to?
I went to the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, A&T, Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride, okay.
And I graduated as an agricultural and biosystems engineering major.
That's great.
Yep.
And Jamaal?
And I went to Hampton University, the standard of excellence, the real HU, if you know, you know. And I majored in mathematics.
All right. The real HU. You got to be careful where you say that at.
Definitely.
Yeah, might mess some people up. We'll have to mute the comments on this one. So we have Hampton, we have North Carolina A&T. And so what brought you to Scheller after that experience?
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm mid-career. Well, a little bit more than mid-career. And so for me, it was about rounding out my experience in technology and marrying that with business acumen. And so I really wanted to bring all of my experience forward into more of a business mindset. And so I felt Scheller would be the place for me to do that.
And you did it was the executive MBA?
I did the
Okay.
executive MBA program, and I was management of technology, which is more geared towards being able to take more of an idea from initiation to more of a pitch state. So it really helped me kind of get out of the mode of things have to be tailored and guided. I was able to kind of come in and shape things and really show my skills. So that was exciting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Jamaal, what about you?
At the time, I was at a different place in life when it was time to select a what to do next in my career. And I was at the stage where I needed more out of my career. I needed more in terms of developing the hard skills needed to go forward. So whether it be continuing within my same organization, moving to a new organization, or entrepreneurial pursuits that I had as well. So I looked at several schools, and Scheller just had the best combination of what I wanted to do, as well as where business and industry was going in terms of that intersection of technology and business. And I think there was no other choice but Scheller at the time.
And is there any particular reason as to what made you not pursue, let's say, a double HBCU experience? Because I know Clark has an MBA, a Hampton. I'm pretty sure I'll have there's a lot of MBA experiences there. Is there any particular reason or?
Well, I would say, again, after being in industry for a while, you realize that the industry is greater than maybe the people that look like you or are familiar to you. And so I think in order to really get maybe more of that global experience, more well-rounded experience, I wanted to come to a school that maybe brought forward more of a broader culture.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's key what Torri said, the more well-rounded experience. I think in terms of all of the benefits that we can derive from our HBCU experience, I think I was able to achieve those. I think what I was looking for was more wider, a more diverse array of coursework, and as well as just your network and being able to leverage a different type of network through Scheller or through Georgia Tech or a school like Scheller. I think that was something I wanted to take advantage of by choosing a school. And let's face it, there's a host of benefits that our HBCUs offer, but it's also they're limited on resources, and that's something also to consider when I'm like, okay, I'm trying to take my career to the next level, and what will help me get there. Although I did for a moment think about all options on the table in terms of my business school experience, but I think when I really looked at what I was trying to do and what these schools offered, I think a school like Scheller was the obvious option for me.
Yeah.
And I think to add to that, I think the opportunity, if you're thinking about service back to the HBCU environment, knowing what you can take from a place like Georgia Tech that is just, again, the resources are exponentially greater here. I can take some of those resources and what I learned from it and pour back into my HBCU community.
That's an excellent point.
If we're constantly circling in that community, where are we bringing things from the outside in to help strengthen that network? So I think that's important as well.
So a lot of our listeners may not be aware what you mean when you talk about like the HBCU experience. So can you take a second to just bring us to your campus, where you were at that point in your life, and like why it was so important to you then?
Oh, God.
We're going to start with you, Jamaal. Yeah, we're going to switch it up. Thought you had some time. Yeah.
Well, man, HBCU experience, it's one that I think for me, like I said, it was a nurturing environment. It was an environment where I felt seen. It was an environment where I was able to connect with people without the distraction of trying to fit in or trying to prove or try to validate that I belong. There was immediately that sense of belonging there. And that helped nurture, it helped nurture the professional I am and the person I am today. It helped instill the leadership qualities that many of us carry forward from our HBCUs. It helped promote a sense of advocacy and social justice in us, just being on the campus. And then, you could have chosen to go to other schools where you learn about history. At Hampton, I was actually, you were witnessing history. You were amongst history, I should say, where, the museum right around the corner from our dorm is the oldest African-American museum in the country that was on our campus. We had Emancipation Oak is where the first reading of the Emancipation Proclamation was read in the southern states, was there on our campus. There's a statue of Booker T. Washington and what he contributed to the larger community at that time, and then started Tuskegee University, and we learned all about that. So it's there's a sense of pride just being there on the campus and embracing that legacy that is Hampton University. And then, it's just going to an HBCU, just the family experience. I can go on and on about that, and then the network you have, it's literally a network for life, a family for life. Like there are hundreds of Hamptonians around that I can call upon, and they're there for me, or I'm there for them, and we support one another, and it's irreplaceable.
Hamptonians. That's a new one. That's
not heard that
me
one.
either. I like it though. We're Spelmanites. Y'all are Hamptonians.
Yeah,
Aggies, right?
Aggies, absolutely. Aggie pride. And wherever I go, I can yell out Aggie pride and somebody will yell it back. So that's pretty amazing.
My sister would yell it back at you. For sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I 100% agree with everything that you said. I feel like the Spelman experience was exactly the same. Spelman taught me to be fierce, taught me to be confident. It also helped me learn how much bigger the world was of seeing other women like me. So I came from an environment where I was used to being one of.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, hold on. Wait, there's a lot of us. So I definitely resonate with everything that you said about the HBCU experience and a place where you can learn about things you wouldn't have learned elsewhere.
Right.
Just
Right.
about your history and the culture.
Mhm.
Tori, how was the experience for you?
Oh gosh, well, you talk about being one of the only. I was a little different in my experience. So, growing up in Detroit, I did went to predominantly Black high schools and middle schools, and so I did have an experience of being surrounded by people who look like me and knowing all walks of life of people who look like me. What it did for me going to an HBCU was lessen the anxiety of being away from home. I went to school not knowing anyone. I didn't have people from my high school that went, no family. And so having that transition for me, being able to relate to people a bit easier. And not have that be such a burden, to be able to jump into the college experience with a little less anxiety was huge for me.
Yeah.
It prevented me from wanting to go back home because of familiar. Familiar was there already.
Right.
And so I was able to really transition well, make friends from all over. People who were, I was again from the North, went to the South for school. And so, that culture transition was big. So I just learned about how we, as Black people, have different experiences across the country. And it just opened my eyes up to, my world is way bigger than what I saw in my backyard.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
1000%. So you broke down your HBCU experience. Let's just walk through your whole journey. So after HBCU, what did you do?
Well, for me, I majored in mathematics, and at the time, I had a lot of friends and family, and it was like, well, what are you going to do with a degree in mathematics? Are you going to teach? And although teaching is a very, very noble profession, and one day I actually hope to maybe teach at some level, but at the time I wasn't looking to be a teacher. So after coming out of Hampton, I wanted to be an actuary, and that was a hot profession at the time. And it was my Hampton background and sort of rearing that sort of helped me in my first role to get that job as an actuary, because what happened was, I'll be honest, I didn't have the highest GPA coming out of undergrad. And I applied to the top insurance brokerage firm in the world at the time, and I wanted to be an analyst, actuarial analyst with them. And upon applying for the job and submitting they asked for a copy of my transcript. I said, but it was my personality, knowing how to connect with people. The interview process was pretty grueling, but connected with everyone. And then at the end, I sent everyone, and this was before AI and where you could do it. I sent everyone individualized thank you notes. And this is something I learned at Hampton. And I sent everyone individualized thank you notes. Yes. They came back. They told me they had dozens of candidates, but they said, we went into the conference room and we put all of your thank you notes on the table, on the conference table, and we saw how you brought back points from every interview, and it was all individualized. We were like, this guy, we loved your polish. We loved you in the interview process. You had the job from that point on. And that was my Hampton background that kind of, that helped facilitate that. So that's what I went into. Actuarial, that wasn't for me. After that, I went into technology and working in digital spaces. And then I went into media, and that's where I've been ever since.
So it's safe to say that Hampton pretty much set you up for success on
from
where you
day
wanted
one.
to be next. Okay.
From day one.
Okay. This is where you get the personality from. All right. That's good to know. Tori, what about you? What did you do like post HBCU at A&T?
Well, I had desires to go into engineering. I was one of those kids who was good in math and science. And so North Carolina A&T happens to be one of the top engineering schools, not only amongst HBCUs, but their engineering program is top notch across the country. And so I went into their agricultural and environmental systems engineering program, pretty small program amongst the engineering college. And it was really closely modeled to civil engineering, but had more of an environmental aspect to it. Being from the city, I don't think environmental engineering is something that really grew on me, I would say, at the time. But I did end up going into civil engineering. So I did that for about 10 years and then made a pivot into technology.
All right, so you took us to your campus. You explained how your HBCU experience really set you up for success when it came to your
Absolutely.
next steps. And then you made a pivot and you said, okay, I'm going to go to Scheller.
Yeah.
Would you say that the same thing has happened for you now that you have graduated? So give me the Scheller side.
Yeah.
Like, you graduated. Do you feel like what did you get out of it?
Oh gosh, well, I'm a newbie. I literally am 1 month out of graduation. And so it's still kind of coming to me, all the reflections of the experience, which was extremely full, extremely rewarding, definitely challenging. If anyone wants to say executive MBA is not an MBA or an easy MBA, it is definitely not the case. And so for me, coming out of this, I would say it's just, did I come in with, or did I accomplish the goals, I guess, that I came in with? And those goals for me were to broaden my network. They were to give back to the tech community as well, because I knew that it would definitely give me what I was looking for, and I wanted to be able to return those things and invest my time
And
and
sorry, real
back
quick.
into that.
The Georgia Tech community or the technology industry?
The Georgia Tech community. Thank
Okay.
you for asking for that clarification. And then also the tech community here in Atlanta, which is growing and expanding in amazing ways. And so wanted to be able to immerse myself more into that as well. And so that's been my focus after graduation, is staying connected to Georgia Tech, as well as immersing more into the Atlanta tech community and giving back and feeding back into it.
And Tori, just adding on to that, do you feel like there were any opportunities that you got that were specific because you went to Scheller? Anything in technology or just that mirrored or aligned with your goals?
Absolutely. I think first off, just the amazing people that are in the program. I don't want to stand about my class, but I mean, we have amazing people who are professors and clinicians, and just have just top industry credentials in their space. And so being able to hear their experience and be able to bounce ideas back and forth with them has been amazing. And then the alumni network. I mean, Jamaal and others stay connected. I've met so many that continue to feed into Scheller. And so it was inspiring to see how it's helped them grow, and how I can, see myself continuing to grow into the community here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jamaal.
To be able to be connected to the Atlanta business community in the way that I have, and to be connected with industry leaders was invaluable to me. And the Scheller experience, it helped cultivate some skills that I didn't have. Like I said, Hampton and like all of our HBCUs set us up with a great foundation, but to be able to take us further, I think that's what Scheller was able to provide. And then to be able to stay connected with an institution like Scheller, to be able to continue to pour in, as Torri said, and to be able to give in a way where we're helping current students, we're helping aspiring students, make decisions about their career, and helping them along the way. I think that's been invaluable as well. But the Scheller experience has been one that I've treasured, and I will continue to reap the benefits of.
That's awesome. So we learned a little bit about how your HBCU experience set you up for success. You talked about similar things with Scheller. What about some key differences on what you experience here versus your HBCU? Doesn't have to be negative or positive, just anything that you want to highlight that you noticed was like, oh, this is different.
Oh, gosh, I guess for me, I don't know that it was hugely different in maybe the overall experience. I had a very unique and intimate experience undergrad because of my major being very small and maybe more intimate. And so I did have a little bit more accessibility to professors. I did have a little bit more of a community feel with my major, and ability to really leverage close relationships. And that's the experience I've had here at Scheller. I think the university difference that I've seen overall is Maybe a little bit more alumni engagement, which may be different now. I'm a bit out of undergrad. And so I have seen a shift over the years in alumni of HBCUs becoming a lot more involved, going back and giving back to the HBCU communities, pouring back in. And so I think seeing how that happens here at Tech is inspiring to make sure that continues to happen at HBCUs as well, because that definitely changes, I think, the richness of an experience at a university when the alumni is engaged and active to support the university.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So I'm just trying to make sure I understand. So you're saying that the alumni at the HBCUs are starting to become more engaged.
Absolutely.
To support
I
the
think
university,
when it comes to bringing our resources back to
That's the point.
That's
okay.
the piece.
That's
that
the piece. Right.
I think we've all been. A lot of us have been to homecomings.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
And continuing to stay connected. Right.
Right.
I think beyond that, taking steps beyond to do other things to feed back into the university is something that I really have witnessed here. Maybe I think for me being that I went to school in North Carolina, not seeing that firsthand is something that I think I didn't benefit from.
Yeah, that's a valid point, because there are a lot of opportunities to stay connected with your HBCU alumni network, but to be intentional about bringing those resources back, and I think I see more of that with my tech, my Georgia Tech network, my Scheller network, and it's something that we can probably do better on the HBCU side. But to that end, though. In terms of my Scheller network, I also have to be, for myself, to be more intentional about making sure that I'm staying connected. I'm keeping that connective tissue strong with my tech network, because it's important. There aren't as many organic, at least from my experience, organic opportunities to stay connected like my HBCU sort of network. So I had to make sure I'm intentional about making sure that I feed into the network, that I'm providing resources, I'm providing things to help my network, and then vice versa. I'm also reaching out to my network as needed as well. Absolutely. But as far as differences, I think was the basis of your question. Yeah, I think in terms of I think there's the academic rigor of the HBCU, which was great. I think what Scheller provides, or what schools like Scheller, what they provide, you have greater resources. You have greater ability to, go deeper in your coursework in terms of your choices of what type of courses you want to pursue and how they will help benefit your career. At Scheller, I love the experience of having sort of real-time solutions to things that I was facing, challenges I was facing in the business world. I mean, I could actually, in class, I can actually implement some of the frameworks I'm learning in class and then go back into in the business world and actually and apply those and see how it and observe and notice, what happens. So I think that is a different experience. I mean, in the grad, we're all in a different place. We're just trying to, get through our courses and trying to grow and trying to find a sense of self. But my Scheller experience was definitely different in that manner, and something that I certainly valued and appreciated.
Yeah, because undergrad, you're like learning all the things.
Absolutely.
I have no idea how I'm going to apply this.
Exactly.
I'm not even sure what I want to do, but they said to learn it, so I'm learning it.
Right.
But but here it's like, okay, I have an idea. I know this go around. I need to get something out of it. Okay, let me pivot what I'm going to learn. And then, I can apply this. And taking that knowledge.
You're a lot more focused. And you know exactly what you're a lot more intentional. You know exactly what it is you need to get out of it. And it's
almost like you know what to tune out. Like, it's like, no, y'all didn't hear that from me. Y'all didn't hear that from me. But you know where you need to put your energy.
Right.
You both talked a lot about the classroom experience, like at your HBCU and at Scheller. Can you kind of touch on a little bit more on how going to an HBCU allowed you to bring a unique perspective here? So like, for instance, part of the reason why I came to Scheller is because there's a lot of international students that I wanted to have more of a global perspective. So maybe from an HBCU perspective, do you feel like there was something you were able to bring to the table that was unique to you in that experience?
Gosh, that's a great question.
That is
I guess Jamaal brought up a point about being around so much culture and history at an HBCU. And I think going back to, again, growing up in Detroit, and I'd say coming from a culturally rich place with a lot of history, I'd already kind of had a lot of that before I went to an HBCU. I think the HBCU experience allowed me to broaden that a bit further and figure out ways to activate around the
Mm.
history that I already knew. And so, again, about intentionality, I was able to come here with the experience of, the HBCU taught me how to come out of school intentional about the impact I wanted to make. And then now I took all of that and said, well, now that I know how to shape intention based on that experience, how do I take all of that and now figure out the intention I need from this one? And so I think the foundation that the HBCU experience gave me allowed me to really cultivate that in a way that got the best out of the Scheller experience.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
agree with that. That's well said. Um, I think there's, I'll be real with you. There's a certain confidence, a certain swagger you
Yeah.
have.
That's what I was trying
There's
to
a
say. In
Yeah,
some
yeah.
There's a
way.
certain.
Thank
there's
you
a-
for just
She was
telling
being-
me,
she was
Jamal.
being
I
humble.
was
I'll
going
just
in
keep it at 100.
circles,
Yeah.
I'll keep it at
but
100.
it
Yeah.
gave me that
There's
swag I needed.
there's
There you go.
there's a certain swag. There's
Yeah.
a certain swagger, and a certain confidence, a certain
There you
sense of
go.
self that
There
you
you
have
go.
coming from an HBCU that I felt like I can compete on any playing field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had something to say. And when you're in the classroom at Scheller and you're taking MBA level courses and you're doing all of those group assignments and you guys know how, and you have to collaborate, but you felt like, okay, I have something to contribute that was instilled in me from my HBCU.
And something unique.
It is
right?
something unique.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
something unique. Not this. I mean, not this. And there's certain things that, because I have a sister and my wife. They went to large schools, PWIs, if we may say, that predominantly white institutions, and there are a lot of benefits they derived from that. But there's a difference. There's a difference, so yeah, that swagger. It's that sense. Again, I may have said this before, but this sense of social justice, of advocacy, of bringing that to the table and thinking that how does this impact all peoples? These solutions that we're developing, how do they impact all peoples? How do they impact people of color? How do they impact people who may be disabled? How do they impact our LGBTQ community? How do they? And we come with that sort of those sensibilities that. I think some of that came about from just our experience at HBCU that we bring to the classroom and that we bring into the boardrooms as well. So I'm certainly grateful for that, and I think Scheller is the beneficiary of that for HBCU students who come in and bring that those types of sensibilities.
Yeah, I'll always joke around and I'll say, you can tell. Like,
Yeah.
but it is true. It
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah,
Like, I can
yeah.
usually tell, like, if I'm in a new space, like Scheller, I'm like, oh, where'd you go to undergrad?
Yeah.
Because it's just a different
Yeah.
way that you're taught to carry yourself. And I
Mm.
think, at least for me here, having that HBCU experience, coming here, I was more focused on impact, not how could I fit in or
Right.
like my HBCU at least taught me that there's no time for that. You
Right.
figure it out. Like, even
Right.
if you are nervous about certain things, you figure it out,
Right.
be fierce, and handle what you need to handle, but not questioning that sense of belonging or your understanding
Right.
or your value or any of those things.
And I think that, again, coming into this environment, we had that confidence already. So
Right.
we weren't seeking that validation. We were
Right.
ready to come make an impact. So
Exactly.
I think that definitely came from that HBCU experience for me.
You talk about impact. So what impact do you feel like you were able to make here at Scheller? And then what impact are you currently making now? Now that Scheller's over, well, not over, but you know what I mean? You graduated. What impact are you making in the community now?
I think, I'll start. I think, again, the Scheller experience, that intersection of business and technology, there in today's world, there is no sort of separation of the two. I mean, there's basically, if you're in technology, you have to think about the business and how that works together to be able to produce your products. And the same thing, if you're a business and you're not integrated, your technology is not integrated with your business, then you're not in business.
Yeah.
So let's. I think that is something that I've left Scheller with, and also making sure that I'm thinking in that way for my clients, work with my colleagues. I'm thinking of making sure that I'm thinking about the integration of technology and business and how we're making it work together to produce better solutions. And I'm taking the experience from Scheller in terms of all of the development, in terms of the hard skills, as well as some of the soft skills from Scheller. One of my favorite courses was organizational behavior.
Yeah.
The professor is Nate Bennett at the time, and he told me this would be your most memorable course while you're. And I said, no, it won't be. And I said, this is not. And sure enough, it's not. That's the course I go back to all the time, with the frameworks that I learned in that course about leadership, about collaboration, team building teams, so forth, is and how organizations thrive. I think take that with me and help to further impact with my clients and with my colleagues and so forth. And then I can continue to pour in by, like I said, I'm sitting on the Inclusive Excellence Council. I work with our ambassadors on inclusive excellence, as well as new students who are aspiring students who are looking to come to Scheller, answering questions and helping provide them guidance.
And on that note, is there any advice that you would give to HBCU students that are considering a place like Scheller? Let's just say just Scheller.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Scheller,
And,
yes,
Any advice that you would give
them? If they're
them?
considering Scheller, I think, yes, my advice is that to really think about where they're looking to take their career, to really be focused about what's next for them, and really think about where business and industry are going, and then you will likely find a path at Scheller to help you get there. I'm almost confident of it. I think to me, there was no other choice with Scheller.
Yeah, I love that. They will literally carve out a path for
Right.
you for your own. I definitely can attest to that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Torri, so with you, what was your impact at Scheller, and then what would you say your impact is you're able to do now?
Absolutely. So I think my impact was bringing people together. I've always been someone who likes to look across or beyond certain boundaries that exist or silos that exist amongst us, and really try to build community across those silos. And so my goal, I was a student ambassador, also on the student council as one of the social and charitable giving committee chairs. And so part of my responsibilities was ensuring that cohesion and breaking down those silos to bring us all together. And so I hope that's my hallmark here at Scheller. Also, I would say going forward, that's my hallmark in wanting to just figure out how to bring all the things that I've been so fortunate to experience from a career perspective, also personally, and make a greater impact. And I think Scheller is going to provide or has provided so many outlets. Like you said, as long as you open your mouth and say, this is what I want to do, there's someone there that's going to help direct your path.
Yeah.
And so I don't see any reason why I would say someone shouldn't come here. I think if you're concerned about whether or not you're going to be able to get the most out of the experience, I think about, coming in with your goals, and you're going to leave with what you achieved or you look to achieve, because this is a place that will help you get there. And so I just want to be able to continue to pour back into it. as we talked about, being able to continue to take the things that I've learned and pour back into the HBCU community. And then also just, again, all the resources that I can help bring to other communities of technology in Atlanta and beyond. I intend to do so going forward. So. Yeah.
That was a great ending note.
Yay.
Thank you both for coming on the Intersection podcast. I hope it was comfy for you and that you enjoyed your time here.
I love the couch.
Right, the couch is nice.
We're happy that you had us. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It's
Thank
been a
you
pleasure.
both. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Intersection podcast. I invite you to rate and subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Have a great day.